Welcome, dear listener, to Candle by the Sea channel, to a world where the ordinary fades and the extraordinary begins. Tonight, we journey with Elara, a young soul who discovers the threads of the cosmos and walks the path of stars. A place where constellations breathe, memories shimmer across a living sea, and even the smallest light can mend the heavens. So get comfortable, close your eyes, and let the soft glow of starlight guide you. If you enjoy this gentle adventure through the night, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video, so more stories of calm, wonder, and restful dreams can find their way to you. Elara and the Star Weaver's Path. Part 1. The Dream of Falling Stars. Night had fallen gently over the sea. It came not as a curtain drawn, but as a slow breath, a hush that settled upon the world like a silken veil. Elara sat by her window, watching the ocean in its midnight rhythm. The waves rose and fell like the lungs of something ancient, breathing in starlight, breathing out silver foam. The air smelled of salt and soft rain, and the only sound was the whisper of wind through the grass that grew along the cliff's edge. On the small wooden table beside her sat a lantern, the same one that had once guided her through realms unseen. It was an old friend now, quiet and patient, its glass darkened with age. The flame within had dimmed to a calm, golden glow, as if resting after long years of travel. Elara reached out and ran her fingers along its handle. "So much light once," she murmured, "and now you sleep too." But as she spoke, something within the lantern stirred, a tiny pulse, so faint she thought she imagined it. Then another, and another. The flame brightened, flickered, then settled into a steady rhythm that seemed to echo the beating of her heart. Outside, the stars began to fall, not like meteors, not fiery streaks burning across the sky, but soft cascades of silver light drifting downward, slow as snow. The heavens shimmered, and for a moment, the sea reflected an entire galaxy. Elara rose to her feet, her breath caught in wonder. The stars were falling toward her. They did not strike the earth or fade into the water. Instead, they gathered around her window, hovering in the air like glowing petals in a windless night. The room filled with light, not harsh, but warm and alive, shimmering with hues no human tongue could name. And then a voice came, clear as moonlight, soft as memory. "When stars fall, the sky remembers. Follow their path, and you will find what was lost." Elara's hand tightened on the edge of the table. The voice was neither male nor female, but ancient, woven of music, wind, and time. "Who speaks?" she whispered. The lantern's glow expanded, enveloping her in light. The world blurred. The sound of the sea, the whisper of the wind, the weight of her room, all faded into silence. When the light dimmed again, she was no longer standing in her home. Beneath her feet stretched a plane of glass, transparent yet radiant, glowing faintly with starlight from below. The air shimmered with distant song, a chorus of unseen voices humming a melody that seemed older than creation. Above her, the night sky had come alive. Constellations swirled slowly, like rivers of light crossing an endless sea. Threads of silver and gold connected them, forming webs of luminous design that pulsed as if they breathed. Elara turned in slow awe, her reflection a faint ghost in the starlit glass. "Is this a dream?" she asked softly, and then the air before her shimmered. From the vast fabric of the sky, a figure emerged tall, serene, and cloaked in the glow of countless suns. Their eyes were made of galaxies, their hair flowing strands of comet light. In their hands gleamed threads of pure energy, which they wove into the sky with slow, graceful motions. When they spoke, their voice resonated through the stars themselves. "You walk upon the veil between realms, Elara of the lantern light." Elara bowed her head instinctively. The being before her was not frightening, but vast beyond measure, like the calm at the heart of creation. "Who are you?" she asked. "I am the Star Weaver," the figure replied, hands never ceasing their work. "Keeper of the loom that binds the heavens. Each thread you see above connects a dream to its destiny, a soul to its journey, a world to its light." Elara watched in silent reverence as the weaver moved. Each gesture was a language, each thread a song. She could see patterns forming, constellations reshaping, stars brightening, memories intertwining. But then the weaver paused. One of the shining threads trembled, flickered, and with a sound like glass shattering underwater, snapped. The song of the heavens faltered. A ripple of darkness spread through the constellations, dimming their light. Elara gasped as one of the great star clusters unraveled before her eyes. The weaver's expression turned grave. "The threads of fate are fraying," they said quietly. "A shadow stirs within the void, one that hungers to unmake the patterns of light. What has been woven begins to come undone." Alara's heart tightened. Can it be mended? The weaver's gaze turned to her, deep and eternal, like starlight reflected in still water. There are few who can walk the path between stars. Fewer still who remember how to listen to the light. They extended a hand toward her, palm open. In it rested a single golden filament, warm, delicate, and alive with gentle motion. "This is a thread of remembrance. Take it, follow where it leads, and it will guide you to the heart of the loom. There, you will find the cause of the unraveling, and perhaps the power to restore it." Elara hesitated. "Why me?" "Because your heart has walked the edges of dream and waking," the weaver said. "And those who have carried light through darkness are bound forever to its call." The golden thread in their hand pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. Elara reached out and touched it. Warmth flooded her body, the same warmth she had felt when she first lit her lantern all those years ago. As she held it, the thread extended outward, lengthening, brightening. Becoming becoming a slender bridge of light that arched across the sky. "Follow the path," the weaver whispered. "Beyond its end lies the loom of constellations. There, light and shadow are one, and all things are decided." Elara looked down the glowing bridge. It shimmered as though woven of pure moonlight, vanishing into the infinite horizon. Beyond it, faintly, she could see worlds suspended in the dark, islands of brilliance floating in oceans of silence. She turned back to the weaver, who watched her with quiet, cosmic calm. "Will I return?" she asked. The weaver's expression softened, as if a smile passed through eternity. "Every journey returns, though not always to the place it began." The words were neither a promise nor a warning, but a truth older than the stars. Elara nodded once, her hand tightening around the golden thread. Then, with a deep breath that tasted of starlight, she stepped forward. The first touch of the bridge beneath her feet sent ripples of light through the void. The stars around her brightened, and a faint song rose from the darkness, the melody of her own courage. Behind her, the weaver's voice lingered like an echo. "Go gently, Elara. Even the smallest light can mend the sky." She took another step, and another. The bridge glowed brighter with each movement, as though her presence awoke something dormant within it. Far below, the sea of stars shimmered, and somewhere in the vast distance, a constellation blinked awake, as if recognizing her passage. Elara walked on, leaving behind the familiar warmth of her home, her lantern's light, the world she knew, and entered a realm where dreams were alive, where fate itself was written in threads of light. And as she walked, the falling stars above began to rise again, climbing back into their places one by one, as if the heavens themselves were breathing in hope. Part 2, The Bridge of Light. The bridge unfurled before Elara like a ribbon of dawn, stretching into eternity. Each strand of its glow quivered beneath her feet, soft yet steady, as if woven from the pulse of 1,000 hearts. She took careful steps, feeling the quiet hum of power thrumming through the thread that the star weaver had given her. At first, there was silence, vast and perfect. But as she walked farther from the place where she'd met the weaver, faint sounds rose all around her. Low notes like the sigh of wind through crystal, gentle chimes that answered the rhythm of her heartbeat. The bridge itself was singing. She paused, glancing into the depths below. There was no sky, no ground, only a slow swirl of light and shadow, endless as an ocean. Sometimes she thought she saw shapes drifting within it, islands of starlight, sleeping whales of mist, blossoms that opened into constellations. The sight made her chest ache with wonder. "Is this how eternity dreams?" she murmured. The bridge responded with a soft vibration beneath her feet, as though the question had brushed against the strings of a harp. The sound was comforting, an unspoken reassurance that she was not alone. She kept walking. Time moved differently here. Each step might have been a moment, or a century. There was no fatigue, no hunger, only the slow unfolding of light, and the feeling that with every pace she was being drawn closer to some vast understanding. After a while, she noticed the color of the bridge begin to shift. The golden thread that had guided her was deepening to a softer hue rose, then lavender, then the pale blue of moonlit frost. The change was beautiful, but filled her with quiet unease. "What happens when the light ends?" she whispered. As if in answer, the air around her thickened. From the darkness ahead, a shimmer appeared, something moving along the bridge toward her. It looked like a cluster of dust motes caught in sunlight, drifting and spinning. But as it neared, the dust gathered shape, drawing together into a figure wrought of mist and reflected stars. It bowed low, voice echoing like a flute in a cavern. "Traveler of the lantern light, the weaver's chosen." Elara's hand tightened around the thread that glowed faintly at her wrist. "Who are you?" "A keeper of the way," the figure said. "One of many who guard the bridges between what is and what might be. It has been long since a mortal's foot touched these threads." Elara studied the being. Its form changed with every blink, sometimes human, sometimes winged, sometimes a shape of pure brightness. Yet there was kindness in the tone and curiosity. "I was told to follow this path," she said, "to reach the loom of constellations." The keeper tilted its head, and small fragments of starlight drifted from its shoulders. "Then you walk a rare road indeed. Few reach the loom, fewer still return unchanged. Will I find the cause of the unraveling there?" At her question, the keeper's glow dimmed. "All causes dwell there, the frayed thread, the forgotten song, the shadow that gnaws upon the light. But every traveler must pay a toll, Elara. The bridge remembers what you carry. It will ask what you are willing to let go." She frowned. "What must I let go?" The keeper only smiled, a slow curve of silver mist. "When the moment comes, you will know." Then, as gently as it had appeared, the figure dissolved into a shower of tiny stars that drifted back into the void. The bridge pulsed once beneath her, urging her forward. Elara hesitated, then walked on. As she continued, memories began to surface, quietly at first, like ripples on still water. She saw the faces of those she'd met in her earlier journeys, the river spirit who taught her silence, the lantern's first flame that whispered her name, the forests of the forgotten realms. Each image glimmered along the edges of her vision, woven into the light beneath her feet. She realized that the bridge was reading her, remembering with her. When she reached what felt like the midpoint of the bridge, the air grew colder. The colors around her deepened to indigo, and threads of shadow began to coil beneath the glassy surface. The song that had followed her grew fainter, almost mournful. From the gloom ahead, a soft cry echoed. Elara froze. It was a small, trembling sound, neither animal nor wind, but something that carried sorrow in every note. She stepped closer, peering through the mist, and saw a shape tangled in the threads ahead, a small creature of light, its wings torn and dim. She knelt beside it carefully. It was no larger than her hand, a being of delicate filaments and glassy skin through which tiny constellations flickered. Its eyes opened weakly, reflecting her face. "Easy now," she whispered. "You're caught." The creature's voice was a faint hum in her thoughts. The darkness hunts the bridge. It takes the light, makes it forget itself. Elara saw the damage. The bridge beneath the creature was frayed, small cracks spidering outward. Each fracture bled dim light into the void. She reached for the golden thread around her wrist and wound it carefully around the broken strands, guiding them back together. The moment her light touched them, the bridge shivered and the creature's wings mended. It fluttered free, hovering before her face. "You remember how to weave," it said, wonder in its tiny voice. "I only remembered what I was shown," Elara replied softly. The being bowed. "Then the loom will know your touch. But where the hollow stars ahead, they feed on memory. Keep your light close, weaver's child." With that, it darted upward and vanished into the higher constellations. Elara stood again. The golden thread at her wrist glowed brighter now, its warmth steady and reassuring. But the mention of the hollow stars lingered in her thoughts. She continued onward, and soon the bridge began to twist, spiraling slowly through the void. Around her, the sky changed. Constellations dimmed and flickered, and shadows gathered like storm clouds among them. It felt as though she were walking through the skeleton of the heavens. Then she saw them. At first, she mistook them for stars, but their light was wrong, cold, and hollow. They hung motionless, dull spheres that absorbed the glow around them rather than giving any back. Wherever they floated, the threads of the bridge looked frail, colorless. The largest of the hollow stars drifted close, and Elara felt its pull like a deep breath drawing her toward emptiness. Her mind fogged, her memories blurred. The warmth of the bridge beneath her feet faded. "No," she whispered, gripping the golden thread tightly. She closed her eyes and focused on the sound that had guided her since she began, the faint hum of the bridge, the song that was half heartbeat, half hope. She began to hum with it, quietly at first, then stronger. The note vibrated through her bones. The hollow star hesitated. Its surface quivered. Then a crack appeared, and a thin ray of real starlight spilled out. Elara opened her eyes and stepped forward, holding the golden thread before her like a torch. The bridge sang louder, harmonizing with her voice. The hollow stars shuddered, shrinking back into the void until only true constellations remained. When the last of them vanished, silence returned. But it was a peaceful silence this time, a pause filled with light's quiet victory. Elara took a deep breath, her body trembling slightly. She had not realized until then how heavy the darkness had felt. As she resumed walking, she saw that the bridge now ended in the distance, not in endless horizon, but in a radiant gate woven of countless crossing threads. They glowed in every color of dawn, forming a circle suspended in the dark. Beyond it, she could glimpse the faint outline of vast shapes moving gears of light, rivers of stars, the slow beating heart of the cosmos. The loom of constellations awaited. Elara stopped for a moment to look back. Behind her, the bridge stretched into infinity, gleaming like a trail of memory. Somewhere in its depths, she thought she heard the voice of the small winged creature singing, a soft note that promised she was not forgotten. She turned toward the gate. "Almost there," she whispered, and her voice drifted outward, becoming another thread of sound woven into the endless song. With her golden thread glowing bright in her hand, Elara stepped toward the light. Part 3. The Loom of Lost Constellations. The path of starlight widened before Elara, unfolding into a valley made entirely of glass and reflection. Above her, constellations rippled across the sky like luminous rivers, their forms shifting, breathing, alive. The air shimmered with a faint hum, as though the stars themselves were whispering secrets too vast for mortal hearts to hold. Elara's footsteps made no sound as she moved forward. The ground beneath her glowed softly, revealing fragments of forgotten constellations, patterns once woven into the heavens, now scattered like fallen memories. She paused beside one, a half-faded image of a phoenix with wings of ember and frost. Its eyes were hollow, its form incomplete. She knelt and reached out a trembling hand. The moment her fingers brushed the glowing lines, the phoenix flickered, and a voice like the crackle of distant fire spoke. "Little wanderer, why do you disturb the fragments of what once was?" Elara's breath caught. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted to understand." "Then you must understand loss," said the phoenix. Its form brightened, and the stars around it quivered. "For everything that shines must one day dim, and everything woven must one day unravel. Even the constellations fade when forgotten." The phoenix's light dimmed again, and Elara felt something stir deep within her chest, an ache she could not name. "Is there no way to restore them?" she whispered. "There is," said the phoenix softly, "but the weaver of fates does not mend what no heart remembers. Only love, only remembrance, can breathe life back into what is lost." Before Elara could speak again, the phoenix dissolved into a stream of silver dust, spiraling upward into the vastness. She continued onward, her heart heavy yet luminous. The valley opened into a great hall formed entirely of suspended starlight threads, an enormous loom that stretched endlessly in every direction. The air thrummed with quiet energy. At its center stood a being of radiant grace, neither entirely human nor wholly divine. Her eyes were like twin galaxies, and her robes flowed with constellations that changed and reformed with each breath. "Elara," said the being, her voice a song of eternity, "you have walked far beyond your waking world." Elara bowed instinctively. "Are you the Star Weaver?" The being inclined her head. I am the hand that guides the threads, yes, but the tapestry does not belong to me. It belongs to all who dream, all who remember, all who choose to see light even in shadow. Elara stepped closer, her eyes wide with awe. Why am I here? The weaver studied her for a long moment. Then she extended a hand, and a single glowing thread appeared between her fingers. You have come because something has shifted in the great weave. A pattern has dimmed, a story forgotten. The thread of your world is fraying, and soon the songs of your sky may fall silent. My world, Elara asked, her voice barely more than a breath. The weaver nodded. The stars you know are not merely lights, but echoes, reflections of stories that once burned in the hearts of living beings. When their hope fades, so too does the starlight. You have felt it, haven't you? The nights growing quieter, the dreams growing shorter. Elara thought of the empty lantern she had once carried, the dimming glow that had guided her through countless journeys. Yes, she said softly. It feels as though the light itself forgets how to shine. The weaver's gaze deepened. Then you must help it remember. With a gesture, the weaver summoned a tapestry that stretched across the air. Each thread glowed with a life of its own, some bright and steady, others trembling, near to breaking. Elara saw rivers, mountains, hearts, faces, all interwoven, all breathing together in a vast cosmic rhythm. She reached out to touch a thread, and visions flared before her eyes. A child lighting a candle by a sea, an old woman whispering a wish to the moon, a wanderer looking skyward in silent hope. These are the living lights, the weaver said. Every star you see above is born from a moment of wonder below, but many have forgotten to look upward. Many have forgotten the quiet joy of dreaming. Elara's throat tightened. How can I remind them? The weaver smiled faintly. Through your journey, through the stories you carry, you are not merely a traveler, Elara. You are a keeper of the forgotten threads. You can mend what others no longer see. Then the weaver turned to her loom, and the air shimmered as she began to weave once more. Each movement of her hands created ripples of color that bloomed into worlds. But to restore what is fading, she said, you must first learn the pattern of remembrance. Go now to the edge of the celestial sea, where the constellations go to sleep. There you will find the first thread of restoration. Before Elara could respond, the stars around her flared, and the loom's radiance enveloped her in a spiral of silver and gold. She fell gently like a leaf on a tranquil breeze, until her feet touched soft sand that glowed with starlight. The air was cool and still, and before her stretched an endless sea made of light. Waves rolled and broke in utter silence, scattering sparks that floated upward to join the heavens. She stood at the edge, her reflection mingling with the constellations beneath the waves. For a moment, she simply breathed, letting the stillness wash through her. Then she saw it, far out on the horizon, a dark figure walking across the sea, leaving trails of fading stars in its wake. Elara's pulse quickened. The figure seemed familiar, yet distant, like a memory she could almost reach. "Who are you?" she called, her voice trembling through the quiet. The figure stopped. The sea between them pulsed with light, and a voice answered, soft as distant thunder. "I am what was lost," it said, "and what you must remember." Then it turned, and Elara saw its face, half shadow, half light, her own reflection mirrored in its gaze. A wind rose from the horizon, carrying the scent of forgotten worlds. The stars above trembled, and the sea began to hum. Elara felt the pull again, the same quiet call that had once led her to the lantern, the same whisper that had guided her through dreams and silence alike. She took a step forward onto the shining waves, her bare feet leaving ripples of golden light behind her. The journey to the celestial sea had begun, and with it, the unraveling of memory, the rediscovery of light, and the quiet truth that even the smallest heart could mend the sky. Part 4. The Sea of Forgotten Light. The sea was not made of water. It was made of memory. Each wave that broke upon the shore shimmered with fragments of forgotten dreams, faces, songs, laughter, tears, rising and dissolving like breath on glass. The air trembled with quiet song, thousands of voices whispering in harmony, speaking in a language older than time itself. Elara stepped forward, her reflection rippling beneath her as though waiting. The figure she had seen, her mirrored twin of shadow and starlight, stood upon the distant waves, its form bending the constellations around it. "Why do you wear my face?" Elara called out. The reflections smiled faintly, and the stars nearest to it dimmed. "I am not what you see. I am the part you left behind." A chill ran through her. "What do you mean?" "When you first lifted the lantern," the shadow said, "you made a promise to carry light wherever it was needed. But when the paths grew dark, when the silence grew too deep, you doubted your glow. You dimmed. You forgot what the light truly meant." Elara's heart ached, but she shook her head. "No, I never stopped believing." The reflection raised its hand, and the sea answered. Waves rose around them, forming spirals of luminous water, and within them Elara saw herself in countless moments, hesitant, uncertain, afraid to hope. "You believed," the reflection said softly, "but you forgot why. The lantern you carried was never a gift of the stars. It was the echo of your own soul. It was you who gave it meaning. It was your faith that made it glow." Elara took a trembling breath. The reflection's words cut deep, yet something within her stirred, an ember long buried beneath layers of self-doubt. "If you are my shadow," she said, "then you must know what I came here for." The reflection nodded. "To restore the light, to weave back what was forgotten." "Then help me," Elara said, stepping closer. The reflection's eyes shimmered like distant galaxies. "You cannot mend the heavens if you cannot forgive your own darkness. You must cross the sea of forgotten light and find the heart of remembrance. Only there can the thread be reclaimed. The wind rose suddenly, carrying the scent of silver rain. The sea stirred, its surface glowing brighter as if awakening. The reflection began to fade, dissolving into motes of light. "Wait," Elara cried. "How will I find it?" A whisper answered, though the figure was gone. "Follow the stars that fall upward." The waves around her parted, revealing a path of shimmering light that curved deep into the horizon. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, her feet sinking slightly into the luminous sea. The surface was warm, alive, pulsing like a heartbeat beneath her. As she walked, the constellations beneath her feet shifted, showing stories of worlds long forgotten. A city that lived within a comet's tail, lovers carved from moonlight, a river that carried time itself. Each vision filled her with wonder and sorrow, as if she were walking through the memories of the universe. The farther she went, the brighter the sea became. But with the light came a strange resistance, as though unseen hands were tugging her backward, trying to pull her into the depths. She stumbled, gasping. "Not now," she whispered through clenched teeth. "I won't stop here." She pressed forward, step by step, her body trembling from the effort. The pull grew stronger. Voices began to rise from the water, pleading, mournful. "Stay with us. Forget the weight of the sky. Dream here, where nothing ends and nothing begins." She closed her eyes and kept walking. But one voice, gentle and familiar, made her falter. "Elara." It was her mother's voice. The sea rippled, and before her appeared a vision of her mother standing beneath the lantern tree, its branches heavy with golden light. She smiled, the same warm, knowing smile that had once soothed Elara as a child. "You've come so far, my little star," her mother said, "but you don't have to keep wandering. Stay here. Rest. Let the stars take care of the world." Tears burned in Elara's eyes. "I can't," she whispered. "I made a promise." Her mother's expression softened into sorrow. "And promises can bind as tightly as they can free. You've carried so much alone. Let it go." Elara fell to her knees, her reflection mingling with her mother in the waves. "I'm afraid," she confessed. "What if I fail? What if I can't fix what's fatting?" Her mother knelt beside her and touched her cheek. "Then fail bravely, my light, but never stop trying." The words wrapped around her heart like warmth in winter. When she looked again, her mother's image was gone, and the sea was still. Elara rose slowly, her tears glittering like stars upon her skin. She breathed in deeply, and something within her changed, a quiet strength unfolding like dawn. Ahead, she saw a faint glow rising from the center of the sea, a column of light stretching from the waves into the sky, swirling with constellations. Around it, the stars seemed to move in reverse, falling upward as if returning home. She ran. The sea trembled under her feet as she moved faster and faster, the light growing brighter until it filled her vision. She reached the center and stopped, gasping for breath. Before her stood a vast crystalline heart, suspended above the sea. It pulsed with both brilliance and shadow, each beat sending ripples through the starlit water. "This is it," she whispered, "the heart of remembrance." As she reached toward it, the reflection of her shadow self appeared again beside her, this time not as an adversary, but as a silent companion. "You've crossed the sea," it said, "but this heart will not open to light alone. You must give it what it lacks." Elara placed her hand upon the surface. The light flared, and a wave of memories surged through her, every moment of fear, doubt, loss, joy, hope. She felt the weight of every story she had ever carried, every promise she had made to keep the light alive. "I understand now," she whispered. "Light isn't about never breaking, it's about shining through what's broken." The heart responded, its rhythm merging with hers. A beam of pure starlight burst upward, piercing the heavens. The sea roared, and constellations awakened across the sky, brighter than before. The reflections smiled faintly. "Then remember this moment always." Elara turned to look at it, but it was already dissolving, merging back into her, into the glow of her soul. The storm of light subsided, leaving only calm waves and the lingering hum of the cosmos. Above, new constellations formed shapes that told her story, her journey, her courage. Elara stood at the heart of the sea, surrounded by the living sky. The light of remembrance flowed through her veins, and she knew what she had to do next. It was time to return to the Weaver. The path ahead shimmered into being, stretching back toward the horizon. She took one last look at the glowing sea, whispered a quiet thank you to the stars, and began walking home, her heart brighter than it had ever been. Part 5. The Path Rewoven. The bridge of light stretched before Elara, delicate yet unwavering, carrying her back toward the loom of constellations. Her feet left ripples of golden brilliance across the starlit expanse, each step a note in the quiet symphony of the universe. She could feel the pulse of the stars beneath her, steady and patient, guiding her forward. Behind her, the sea of forgotten light shimmered, now calm and radiant. The heart of remembrance had returned to its place among the constellations, a beacon of hope, and the small waves glowed like countless embers of memory. The reflection of herself, the shadow she had faced, had merged with her light, leaving only the warmth of her courage and the quiet wisdom of experience. Ahead, the loom awaited. Its threads twisted and turned, forming an endless pattern of life, story, and destiny. But now, unlike before, Elara could see the frayed edges, the dim threads, and the empty spaces that the darkness had left behind. Each one called to her, a silent plea for restoration. The Star Weaver stood at the center of the loom, hands poised over a cluster of threads that shimmered like liquid silver. Her gaze lifted as Elara approached, and in it was pride tempered with relief. "You have returned," the weaver said, voice like the music of the cosmos. "You carry what was lost." Elara held the golden thread tightly. "I do, but I am afraid. What if I cannot mend it all?" The weaver extended her hand. "The threads are strong because they are woven together. You do not mend them alone. You lend your light, and the tapestry responds. Trust what you have learned." Elara nodded and stepped forward, placing the thread into the loom. The moment her fingers touched the woven strands, a surge of warmth coursed through her. Images appeared, worlds she had never seen, lives she could only imagine, dreams yet to be dreamt. Each one vibrated with life, and she realized she was not merely touching threads of light, but the very essence of hope itself. The threads hummed in response, intertwining with the golden filament she had brought. A great ripple traveled across the loom, and the frayed edges began to glow, slowly knitting themselves together, as though remembering their original pattern. A shadow emerged from the distance, a tendril of the darkness she had faced in the sea of forgotten light. It curled around the loom, twisting and whispering doubt. Elara felt a chill, but she lifted her hands higher, letting her heart shine through the thread. "Go back," she commanded softly but firmly. "You have no place here." The darkness hesitated, then recoiled, dissolving into faint mist as the loom pulsed brighter. One by one, the frayed threads rejoined, weaving themselves into harmony with the surrounding light. Elara could feel the song of the universe rising in her chest, a melody of restored stars, repaired dreams, and infinite possibilities. She closed her eyes, letting the rhythm carry her, letting every thread of courage, every memory of hope, every whisper of love guide her hands. Time seemed to stretch and fold in on itself. Elara felt herself walking through countless lifetimes, seeing the beginning and end of worlds, the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth of stars, and the quiet death of light. And yet, in every vision, the same truth persisted. Even the smallest act of care, the faintest glimmer of hope, could set a universe right. When she opened her eyes, the loom was whole. Every thread pulsed in harmony, constellations spinning gently, stories knitting together, the sky itself singing in quiet, radiant joy. The darkness had vanished completely, leaving only the light of memory and the living song of creation. The star weaver turned to Elara, eyes shimmering like twin galaxies. "You have done more than I could have hoped. You have woven courage into the very fabric of the cosmos. You are now part of this tapestry forever." Elara's chest swelled with warmth, and she realized that the fear she had carried, the doubt that had followed her from one world to the next, had melted away. She was no longer just a traveler of realms. She was a keeper of light, a guardian of what must not be forgotten. I don't know what to say," she whispered. The weaver smiled. "Say nothing. Let the stars speak for you." Above, a new constellation was forming, tracing a pattern that seemed to honor Elara herself. A figure walking across a bridge of stars, carrying a lantern glowing with infinite light. Around it, smaller stars twinkled, threads of memory she had restored, lives she had touched, hope she had returned to the world. Elara gazed at the image and felt tears prick her eyes. She had walked through darkness, through doubt, through the quiet weight of forgotten dreams. And now she understood the song of the universe in her heart. The weaver's voice broke the silence. It is time for you to return. But remember, Elara of the lantern light, the path you walk never truly ends. Wherever there is shadow, wherever there is fear, your light will find its way. Elara nodded, feeling the golden thread extend from her hand to her chest. The bridge back to her world shimmered into being, delicate and strong. She stepped onto it, leaving the loom of constellations behind, yet carrying every thread she had mended within her. As she walked, the stars seemed to lean closer, their light brushing against her cheeks like the softest breeze. The constellations she had restored twinkled brightly, whispering their thanks in the language of the cosmos. She smiled, and the bridge sang beneath her feet. At last, she saw the cliffs where her journey had begun, the familiar scent of the sea, the gentle sway of the grasses, the hush of night around her window. She stepped onto solid ground and felt the golden thread dissolve into her heartbeat, becoming a part of her. The lantern on the table glowed faintly, welcoming her back. But now it carried more than light. It carried everything she had discovered, every story, every memory, every hope. She reached out and touched it, and it pulsed softly in response. Elara closed her eyes and whispered a quiet promise. I will never forget, and I will keep walking, no matter how far the night may stretch. Above, the stars sang a lullaby soft, enduring, eternal. And Elara, the wanderer, the keeper of light, the weaver of hope, finally understood that even in the darkest night, the smallest spark could set the heavens alight. And so, Elara returned to her world, carrying the light of countless stars and the wisdom of a journey through dreams and memories. May her courage remind us that even the smallest spark can illuminate the darkest night. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss another journey into gentle, mystical adventures. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with calm, light, and wonder.